What we have here today is kind of a sample of the cardiology section. A good part of cardiology essentially started with hearing heart sounds. That would be the common way that the physicians way back when would determine what might be wrong with a patient. The typical way is that the physician would put their ear up to the patient's chest or back to hear the sounds. But the story goes that back in about 1816, René Laennec, a French physician, was kind of embarrassed to put his ear up to the chest of a young woman. So he decided that, or came up with the idea that this could be the first stethoscope. He took a bunch of paper, rolled it up, and then placed it on the chest to hear the heart sounds. He'd put his ear on this end and then move around to hear the various sounds. That was the start. Simple piece of paper wound up made an excellent way of hearing heart sounds, much better than just an ear placed to the chest. Then he came up with a stethoscope. It may not look like a stethoscope that you're used to today, but it has the same principles. It has a bell on the end, which would be placed on the chest in various places to hear heart or lung sounds, and the physician's ear would be placed on this end to actually hear those sounds. And the interesting thing is that by having the tube connect the chest with the ear, the sounds were much clearer and much louder. Very easy to distinguish between heart sounds and lung sounds. This was an awkward thing to carry around, so it kind of evolved to a much more portable instrument. This would be put together, and again, on the chest, ear on this part, and you have a stethoscope. This thing broke down nicely to fit in a pocket. Of course, you got fancier as time went on and could end up with a metal and bakelite stethoscope, which screwed together. These all do the same thing. And if I could get it to start in the right place, we'll do much better. But again, stethoscope, very compact, easy to carry, same principle. The bell goes up against the chest or the back to hear heart or lung sounds, and the metal earpiece goes into the ear. There are various different kinds of stethoscope as years went past. This actually was an obstetric stethoscope applied to the mom's abdomen and would be able to hear a fetal heartbeat. Obstetric stethoscopes typically had a larger bell and had some ways of leaning or putting pressure on the abdomen with the ear. Again, they evolved. We have a rubber tube, and it's not bakelighted. It's some kind of colloidal plastic where you can hear your own heartbeat. It's a little hard with those wooden ones to get your ear around it, but you can put it on your chest and then listen. These, again, were widely used. Then we get to more modern ones. Things that you're more familiar with seeing in the doctor's office. We have this one's called a diaphragm. It's not a bell. They found that a diaphragm that was tightly stretched would actually amplify sounds from the chest. And again, we'd have the earpieces that went as usual. Something that, while these were used widely in the early 1900s, the 20th century, these all date back to 1820 to 1900. One little oddity is, again, an obstetric stethoscope, so that the doctor wouldn't have to press down on the abdomen. This would go over the head, and the doctor could actually lean to provide pressure on the bell and likely hear better through the earpieces. That's all heart sounds, and heart sounds make up a big part of heart medicine. Blood pressure, on the other hand, does provide information about the heart and the circulatory system. I've got two samples here, some of which may be familiar with, some may not. One typical way of measuring blood pressure, you're all familiar with the cuff pretty much. This goes around the upper arm and gets pumped up by the bell, or by the bulb here. And as it's pumped, let's see if we can get this to react maybe. There you go. It may be hard to see, but as I'm pumping, you can see the mercury rise in the tube here. And once the heartbeat stops, of course the doctor's using a stethoscope to measure, to hear the heartbeat. Once it stops, the pressure is slowly released and the 2 pulse points will be noted as the mercury drops. So that's one type. You rarely see the mercury, and I'm going to take this slowly, sphygmomanometer is what it's actually called, in offices anymore. You're more likely to see, but this is still an old one, a dial pressure measuring cuff. I'm not going to put this one on because it's made of rubber and it's old enough, the rubber is very brittle. But again, you have the bulb that goes into the tubing, that goes to the cuff, which is around the arm, and the gauge goes in with the tubing so that you can pump it up again to reach a point where the heartbeat in the arm stops, and then you watch the pressure as it returns to the 2 pulse points. You're more familiar, most likely, with the dial type because that's what's in use mostly in doctors' offices at this point, but mostly you will see mechanical and digital blood pressure monitors.